Hello, I'm Bay Mud, these are my hands, and this is a mini horrorscape feedback synthesizer, which is about as fun and gnarly as that sounds. If you caught my first ever live stream last week, thanks by the way, you saw me build this little synth kit. It's the Simple Touch 2 from Synth UX Academy, or Synthux if that's how you want to say it. Not sponsored, I just bought it on a whim a few months back as I was intrigued by the general Synth UX community and the different open source firmware options you can install or code yourself if you're so inclined. And as you heard off the top, I'm currently a bit obsessed with the firmware that turns this little kit into a version of the infamous Audrey II horrorscape feedback synth. Now, I can hear you already, but Mr. Mud, didn't you also buy the full Audrey II kit? Yes, I couldn't resist a discount on a B-stock version of the full kit too, but I haven't built it yet. Maybe I'll do that on another live stream? This version is also different in that it can be played by these touchpads. And while it loses the delay section of the original, it does have an audio input for processing and horrifying whatever you throw at it, which I can't seem to get enough of at the moment. In fact, right now, my little Audrey is living in the submix of my L6 Max, so I can use it to destroy all kinds of things. Let's try it on a few instruments and see where we end up. First off, I can just bang on the desk and my mic will pick that up and send it through to be processed. Here's an example where I hit a drum and play the pads at the same time. And here it is affecting my voice. Just dial up the reverb, open things up a bit, and now I've got more gravitas. My trusty Hohner Pianette T usually also benefits from some processing, and I've been enjoying pairing it with Audrey. Here's the Pianette on its own. Now through Audrey, where I ride the feedback a bit. It also probably won't surprise you that I've lost hours using Audrey as a guitar effect. Here's the sterile sound of my Telecaster directly into the mixer. And now here it is just using the input gain as a slightly resonant gnarly distortion. We can then shape the overall sound with the filters and reverb. And you can use the pads to punctuate the end of a phrase with a swell of feedback. If you set the Audrey to a sustained drone by pressing the right half of the logo and this pad so that light turns on the daisy, you can then ride the feedback control in interesting ways to compete with the input signal. Like this. If I adjust the feedback knob so it's just on the edge of an infinite drone, Audrey wants to cut loose underneath my input signal, but they sort of overtake or interact with each other. And then you can use the frequency slider to set the pitch of the resulting resonance to suit whatever you've got going through the input signal. Here's an example of using this sort of overtaken feedback with guitar. this version of the Audrey, there's a toggle to engage modulation of the body parameter via either a sine wave or a slewed sample and hold. No control over the rate as far as I can tell, but it still adds nice variety. If you watched the live stream, you also know the build was fairly straightforward, as it's based on the Daisy seed, which means there are no individual passive components like resistors or capacitors to solder. It's not fully enclosed, and I'll probably 3D print a case for the sides at least, but you do need access to the Daisy seed for power and changing firmware. Remember, this is as much a development platform as an instrument. I also mistakenly said the jacks were mono in the stream, but they are stereo. In the case of the Audrey II firmware specifically, though, the input signal still seems to be mono, but the output is stereo, which means the onboard reverb can make things sound nice and thick, like this. Also worth noting that neither version of the Audrey has external sync options like MIDI or CV, though I have read of some mods that could address some of that if you want to get fancy with a soldering iron and some code. That said, part of the fun to me is using the feedback as a hands-on instrument anyway. My understanding is the regular Audrey II can be modded to have an audio input if you're up for it, and I'll probably do that to mine after I get around to building it in the next live stream. Let me know in the comments if there are other Simple Touch firmware options you'd like me to dive into. In the meantime, I'll be over here feeding my Audrey II all kinds of tasty signals and basking in the reverberated chaos. Oh yeah, and I think I'm supposed to tell you to like and subscribe.